My dream for the future is to become a doctor. I have thought so since I was 12 years old. At that time, my grandmother, Mieko, was sick, and she had to stay in the hospital. I noticed that Mieko, who had usually handled the housework, was getting weaker day by day. She couldn't stand up and walk, and it was getting difficult for her to eat. It was so painful for me to see her like that, since there was nothing I could do to help her. One night, while I was doing my homework, the phone rang. It was the doctor. My family and I rushed to the hospital and saw that Mieko looked completely different. My mother held Mieko's hand tightly. "She can finally rest in peace," my mom said as she was crying. Mieko, my sweet grandma, who had played with me when I was little, who had made snacks for me after school when I was hungry and told me stories. I thought about how I could never see her again, and I was so sad. This couldn't be happening. They had discovered Mieko's illness 3 months before. It was cancer. By the time we found out, it was already near the end. She couldn't live much longer. All hope was lost. But the doctor did not give up. Even though her cancer was in the final stages, he treated her with all his might. I thought long and hard about the doctor's dedicated response. He was working around the clock to help her, even though she couldn't survive. I started to think that I want to live the same way as that doctor, that I want to have a job where I can give hope to people. Not even a year had passed since my grandmother's death when the tsunami came. The first floor of our house was flooded, so we spent a month and a half at the refugee shelter. The stress and the poor living conditions in the shelter were really destroying our health. Luckily, medical teams came to the shelter to help us. They went from room to room and examined all the sick people. These teams worked night and day to examine us, even though they didn't have enough equipment and had to sleep in the shelter like us. After seeing all of these doctors work so hard to help people and save their lives, I was determined to be a doctor. In order to become a doctor, I have to study hard and deepen my knowledge of medicine. I also have to do research on how to treat illnesses that are not yet understood. I think that my remaining years as a student will be quite tough if I am to make my dream come true. But in order to save people's lives and to give their families hope, I will do my best, no matter what. I will do everything I can to fulfill my dream.